How can I be more charismatic? How can I be less needy with my woman? And what the hell does charismatic mean anyway? There's a phenomenal YouTube channel. You probably have heard of it. It's called Charisma on Command. I have many guys that are wanting to learn the strategies, the particular skills of charisma. And while you can see unending videos really on YouTube about the tactics around charisma, I want to talk about the mindset from the ground up. What do you need to know in your heart and in your soul to be more charismatic in the first place and less needy in the first place without really having to try hard, without needing to read a script? Let's get into that today on our man to man call. We're here because we want to live our life with freedom, even in relation, freedom and passion. We want the freedom to be confident within ourselves no matter what, to make the most important promises to ourselves. And the most important promises to ourselves for our mind, our body, our spirit, our relationships. Yeah. And how do we promise that to ourselves and then bring that into the world? How do we make that happen in the world? That's what we talk about here on these man to man calls. What does charisma and being a charismatic man mean to you? Does being charismatic mean you're in good physical shape? Does it mean that you have a style and you don't care what other people think of you? Does it mean that you're into the arts, that you feel deeply within music or in spirituality? Does it mean that you have the best new sunglasses and you can smile and crack a joke and make people laugh? What does charisma mean to you? Actually, I'd love to ask each one of you how you feel you are with charisma. And you can change your mind later on in the call once we talk more about this and once I share with you my 3 points of how to bring this more into your life in an easy way. But on a scale of 1 to 10, punch into the chat. 1 being the lowest, 10 is your fucking Don Juan. Where do you rank yourself as far as charisma? You can walk into a room. You can walk up to a stranger and chat them up. You can bring someone over into your way of thinking, let's say. Where do you believe you are with charisma? 1 to 10, punch it into the chat. Let me ask you, what does charisma mean to you? Is it have anything to do with anything within these pictures? What do you believe charisma is?
Yeah, I mean, as far as these pictures go, seems like they're all confident, with themselves, confident with themselves. They're being themselves. I think that's where charisma comes from is being okay with yourself. If you're being okay with yourself, I think you tend to I guess give generously as far as like making others feel good. I think that's part of charisma is making people feel good when they are around you. That's why they like being around, right. That's why you're charming, charismatic. They like being around you because they like the way they feel when you're around them. They either that's and most of the time, that's because there's some positive energy coming off of you. It's you make them feel happy, and all that just comes from within yourself and being okay with yourself and being happy and confident yourself, I believe.
Yeah, well
Yeah,
said, man.
and I think I'm like at a I feel like I'm at a 7.5. I'm moving up there.
Okay, you feel you're more charismatic now, more you were saying confident people feel good when they're around you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm like I think it depends on the environment, I think when I'm going out, socially I feel okay. I mean, I don't have issues starting up conversations. I think for me, as far as for me, every now and then, if I do feel I'm not charismatic, it's mainly because there's some part of insecurity about me that doesn't feel good, and I think that's when I know I'm not like charismatic or confident, but and that can be, that can be around women who are pretty who I find attractive, or I end up putting them on a pedestal, like, and I get stuck. Because then an insecurity comes out where I'm like, am I even good enough for this woman? What am I gonna do? I start, that monkey mind starts, going, and yeah, but I think I'm aware of it every time I do, and I think I just have to breathe and like get myself grounded, even if it's just something like that, and just to a point, just not give a shit, and just know that if you get rejected, you get rejected. If they want to talk to you, they'll talk to you. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, nice. I can tell you've thought about this quite a bit. Yeah, charisma. Have you
Yeah.
studied it any other way?
No, I've never really studied it, but I've been aware of it. I think when the initial separation happened with my kids' mom, it was man, I felt like shit. It was like a lot of validation was coming. Like I was needing her validation, on my worth, and that just wasn't okay. And I think doing a lot of work with you guys, and really focusing on myself, like you said, it's the mind, body, and soul. I think with all that, there's charisma that goes into it. And it's just having that compassion. I guess is being okay with yourself. I don't know how else to put it. I don't just knowing just being aware of my emotions and how that comes off to other people. And I think that I started practicing with my coworkers, and a lot had to do with that book you recommended. Was I hear you, I hear you, and just validating the emotions. And the more people just want to come and talk to you, and you validate the emotions, like you can tell the difference when they do talk to you, or they keep on coming back and wanting to talk to you, or they even ask you how your day is. And next thing you know, you're having laughs and talking and talking about childhood memories and stuff like that. And I guess I just kind of picked it up as far as that goes. And I don't even knew of it. I didn't even know it was charisma. Honestly, I think it's just being aware of my emotions and not getting validation from other people, but also how I make other people feel as well. It's I don't want people to feel shitty when they're around me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's very well said. It's focused on the other, present on them, focused on out something that's outside of you versus you were saying
Yeah.
when you feel
And I,
insecure, it's about you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think charisma, for at least for me, I had like a in my and when I picture it in my head, I do picture those pictures that you showed me, but I think charisma doesn't really have to do with like being like very like looking like those guys. I think charisma can be more of just even just validating people's emotions. What I guess when I think of charisma, I think of like handsome celebrities, making other girls laughs, making picking up all the girls, but I don't think it's really that. It's just being okay with yourself, even if you're not that, and just validating people's emotions or just being in the present with them, honestly.
Yeah, and that's three big things, like being okay with yourself, being in the present, and validating other people's emotions. At the very least, noticing them, validating
Yeah.
them. That's
Yeah,
a
no,
big deal. That's great.
yeah, noticing them and making them feel heard. And I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of people really want.
Absolutely. Phenomenal. Thanks for getting us started, man. Good stuff. What would you add to charisma? What else does charisma mean to you personally?
So charisma, well, that's style, right? That's how you present yourself to them. So it's about how to make the other person feel intrigued. It's that playful vibe, the flirtatious vibe. How you make the other person interested in you, pursue you. That's all charisma.
Yeah, very good. Fun vibe, flirtatious vibe, how the other person feels about you.
Yeah.
Tell us about your five. Please go for it.
Well, I was just shooting for the middle. I mean, I don't think I know that much about it. So, I mean, what? Oh, so first question is what? What is charisma? I guess.
Yeah, what does it mean to you beyond what we've said, or maybe even approaching it the other way? What is not very charismatic? What have you noticed not work very well?
I don't know about that. I really, I always kind of thought charisma is kind of a natural attribute that somebody has that makes them attractive to other people, and not necessarily, sexually or romantically, just a person that you want to be around or something. Be charismatic for whatever intangible quality that is. And I haven't been to the YouTube site, but I should probably check that out to, see what. And so I'm not even really aware, I guess, that there are techniques or tactics or things that I might ought to know that would contribute to that. So,
Well, that's a good point. Just thinking that it's something natural that some people have, some guys have, and either you have it or you don't. I hadn't thought about it that way.
yeah, I mean, I kind of feels that way. Sure. So news to me that you can, that you control that. So, or that you have, I mean, I assume that you could, I mean, why not? It makes sense, but hadn't really thought about it.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good question. Hey, thanks. Good to see you, man. So as always, you guys have questions about what we're talking about, or if you want to bring a story or a question from your life, raise your hand or, unmute yourself and come on in. We don't have to go through what I'm sharing here. Certainly, I want to be here for you guys. So if you have a different question or something you want to ask, please do. Let's take a step forward here. Regardless of what we look like, you guys are knocking it out of the park. Charismatic from the Oxford Dictionary, a compelling charm which inspires devotion in others. And other definitions are around influencing or feeling powerful, certainly. And here are a few quotes that I found. Charisma is the ability to influence without logic. And what does that sound like? That sounds like we talk with our woman. We don't use the red light of logic. We often want to connect with her emotionally. It's about the emotion within the context between us or a woman. It's about how she made you feel or you made her feel. It's not about the logic of the situation. So charisma is the ability to influence without logic. Here's another one. Charisma is not so much getting people to like you as getting people to like themselves when you're around. And I love this. Getting people to like themselves when you're around. And charisma is not just saying hello, it's dropping what you're doing to say hello. When your woman comes in the room, for instance, is she getting your presence, as we said? Are you able to put down whatever you're doing, if appropriate, and say hello to her? That's part of charisma. So here's the three bullets I want to get into today. Again, not tactically, but from a approach mindset, from a values based, from a soul and heart approach to charisma, where I don't have to be reading a script or performing. So here's the 3 bullets. How do you value the external beauty of a woman? So what value do you put on her beauty? Does it knock you off your feet? Do you become a mumbling idiot the more beautiful that she is? How do you see the value of external beauty, especially of a woman? The second one, what else do you value? So what do you also value in the world? Could you name it? What do I see as important to me, whether they're concepts or people or physical things? What do you value and hold sacred? And what are you attempting to get from a woman when you're in an exchange with her, in the room with her, in a conversation with her? So how do you value her external beauty? What else do you value? And what are you trying to get from the situation? Value is a person's principles or standards of behavior, what you judge as important in life, what you judge as to be important or beneficial, have a high opinion of, a regard that something is held to deserve importance or worth or usefulness. So do you hold, for instance, a woman's beauty as something to be held of worth, of something that's important? Do you find it to be beneficial to you within your life, a woman's beauty? How do you judge a woman's beauty? How do you put value upon it? You know, if we put her on a pedestal, then we are feeling most likely insecure about ourselves. We're not able to be present with her. And she certainly isn't attracted to that dynamic. She can't respect us in this dynamic. And certainly if we feel like we're above her, that's not something a healthy woman wants. It's not something a healthy man wants in a relationship with her either. It's not looking down on her. There's a lot of stuff out there that puts us in this power dynamic, and we need to have power over her. And it's not about power over. It's about us wanting to have a divine relationship together, to be open and connected and trusting with one another. Of course, the man being here with the blue circle and the mustache, and the woman being the pink circle with the lips here, the lipstick here. And this scale symbol represents relationship, let's say. Well, how do you see her beauty? Are you putting her on a pedestal with her beauty? Talked about this. It's impossible to be charismatic if we're putting the person on a pedestal. It's how they see themselves through our eyes. What else do you value aside from her beauty? You value, I'm assuming, your children if you have them, your work if you feel passionate about it, your spiritual life, let's say, if you have one. And maybe that to you is walking out in nature like it often does to me. Maybe it's going to the gym. Maybe it's listening to great music, journaling, looking within myself. What do I value? That's my spiritual life. Or you might also value your time alone, your time to do those things that you find important, maybe not necessarily with her. So what else do you value aside from a woman's beauty or aside from her validation? I put this a different way. If I put you and the woman down here where there is no pedestal beneath either one of us, and what you value is over here up on the pedestal. So you value connection and divine relationship, let's say. You value healthy balance in relationship. You value your children, your work, your spiritual life, and your time. And you put those things on a pedestal where she's not up on that pedestal, that you have other things that you value other than her beauty. And do you have that in your body? Do you have that in your soul? When you're standing in front of a beautiful woman and you start to feel yourself get flush and overthink, can you bring yourself back into appreciating your own time, your own spiritual self, your own work and mission in the world? What else you find important in the world aside from just this woman's beauty in front of you? If you can feel all those other things that are important to you, if you can breathe them through you, the woman who's standing in front of you doesn't seem so intimidating because you have a life otherwise. You have other things that are important to you, including your own time. You're not looking for her to just fill those things or bring you value. You already have these other things on a pedestal, and she's not on a pedestal, and you're not on a pedestal. It's your values, it's your mission, it's your drive, it's your inspiration for life. How does this hit you, gentlemen? I'd love to ask you about this. So what does this graphic mean to you, where she's not on a pedestal, but these other parts of your life are? How do you see this graphic?
Yeah, it's at first you might think that it's a form of selfishness, but it's not really. I mean, that's probably what the nice guy would think. And but at the same time, right, the values are something that's unchangeable, or at least they shouldn't be influenceable by external forces, no matter what's going on around you. So it has some permanence to it that you could say is what defines a value. Is that I always look at a value as something that if you would never appreciate the opposite, right? If you take a value and then you flip it on its head, no one ever would say they would prefer the opposite of a value. But yeah, those. I mean, I can see the benefit of that is that the pedestal concept is something I've always struggled with in the past, and I see that, coming back to those values, even though things are going very good with me and my wife, lately, I really have to check myself a lot of times and not fall back into those old habits and start to think about the things you're talking about right now.
What old habit are you afraid is going to peek its head?
Exactly what we're talking about, the good guy mentality, the pedestal concept. And I got to kind of, it's in the back of my mind. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't, I get complacent or fall, like I said, fall back into an old habit of putting her on a pedestal and worrying about what she's thinking. In fact, I just tucked her into bed a minute ago and she was grumpy. And in the past, I would immediately think, what did I do? There must be something.
Yeah.
So I just let it be. I know she's got other things going on, and I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, good for you. It's not your job to make sure she's always joyful. And that's difficult. That's difficult for us, that we want amazing things in our life for her, for our family, for ourselves, and we don't want her to be upset, of course. So let's fix it. But no. So this may be a bit esoteric, but I want to ask, and this feels like where you are. So let me ask this question. When you look down, you kissed her, whatever you did to say goodnight, and you noticed that she was upset, did you, let's say, breathe and open your chest, open your heart to feel love for the little girl that she may have inside that's upset at this moment? Did you practice some kind of expansion in that moment?
I got to do better with the breathing. I have to start triggering that a little more early. And but yeah, the little girl concept definitely has helped me a lot. That there's because I have a daughter who looks just like my wife too.
Yeah.
So it makes it a little easier in that sense. So, but I got to start learning to breathe a little better in the moment.
Yeah, when I was learning this, in that spot I would hold my breath, like, and think a lot, which is good. It's better than, hey, what did I do that's wrong, baby? Can I fix it? Yeah, it's definitely better than that. But yeah, breathe, bring love into your heart. Let's say, bring love into the space around you. And if any man here has no idea what the hell I'm talking about, bring love into this space. Open your heart. Post into the chat, or we can have a quick conversation about it, or we can talk about this in the forum, because I don't want to leave anyone behind with that concept. Good stuff, man. Thanks for jumping in. Come on in. What does this graphic mean to you? She's not on a pedestal. What you value, you've identified, so to speak, and you put that on a pedestal for your own self, not her, or not a woman's beauty. What does this mean to you?
I guess I understand conceptually what you mean here. And it makes sense, because I've been guilty of putting her on a pedestal for all relationships that I've ever had, right? Not just my wife now, but any girlfriends that I've had, throughout my life.
Right.
I guess I kind of struggle with that description of put on a pedestal. Like, I guess being very very strong in my faith, I struggle with placing really anything besides God on a pedestal. I don't know, maybe just the description of on a pedestal is really what I am struggling to accept. Values, yes, are important. They're, your values should come before anything. And I guess faith in God for me is one of my most important values. So I guess I struggle with, maybe it's just the icons that you've got there. I see things, right? I see pictures of things, and maybe that's more what I'm struggling with. I don't know, but
Sure. So what words would you use to describe putting every woman that you've dated or been with in relationship? What?
Prioritize.
Say again.
I prioritize is like the word that comes to my mind, or put before. Put them before myself, put them before anything. Is that the question you asked? Okay.
Yeah, it is. So prioritize. So what were you thinking back then versus the way you see it now? How is your thinking different than it was in the past?
Like the nice guy kind of mentality, that everything that I did or said was, with the intention of putting her up on that pedestal so that I would feel validated, so that what I was reciprocated would validate me as a man.
So if I use your word, prioritize, if I prioritize her, then I'm a good man. and she'll see that I'm a good man and then shower me with praise or validate me. Is that?
But more often than not, that prioritization was at the expense of prioritizing that I wanted to do, prioritizing my values.
Yeah, good. And so to make a point, I'll exaggerate a bit and you tell me what your thoughts. So if I prioritize my wife as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, right? And then number 5 or 6, 5 or 6, that's the kids. Then 7 is my work because I got to work, right? 8, 9 are the house and the dog. And I'm way down here, number 27 on the list.
Yeah.
And she's monopolizing the top of the list. Then she didn't ask for that. I did that because I thought that would be the best thing to do. Right. So why would you imagine, and I'm fishing a little bit here. Why would you imagine that she would not want to be the top 7 spots on your priority list? Why wouldn't she want that?
Because it came with too much sacrifice of myself and losing myself in that process. Prioritization would end up being distorted and would mean that I wouldn't stand up for myself or stand up for the things that I wanted to do. It would just be bending and following to whatever she wanted. So it was a distorted prioritization.
Yeah, the losing yourself. She has nothing to love if there is no you there, right? So what do you do?
Losing authenticity, and
yeah. Well, authenticity. If we have to do work on ourselves to even know what that is, and that's why you're doing this, right? It seems as though, yeah. So what if I prioritized the top 5 things, did not have her, and maybe didn't even have me necessarily, but it had these icons that represent ideas, right? So the icons that represent ideas. The balancing scale is the relationship, the health and well-being of the relationship, even if something needs to be said by me or by her that each of us may not like. You may not like when I stand up for myself, or I may not like when she shares her painful emotions with me. But for the health of the relationship, that's high in the priority list. The kids, of course, work, spiritual life, my time, which that's me, I suppose. If those things, my time for my health, let's say, it's very important. It's the top 5 on the priorities list. And she's not even on the top 5. You think that your wife might have an issue with that?
Well, if they're the things that you just described, then if the relationship is healthy, then prioritizing all those things would flow naturally to her, to yourself. So yeah, in that sense, those are foundational, I guess. And so if the foundation is strong, then the people and the relationship are set up to be stronger.
Okay. So how do you know that about your wife? How do you know that she would think that way, feel that way?
Oh, because she's told me. I mean, we're doing a lot of deep kind of digging right now in the context of our healing separation that we're in. And this is kind of the stuff that I've brought to the table. And in a lot of cases, her as well. I think maybe I mentioned the last time we were on a call together, like codependency kind of issues on both sides. They look different, but at the end of the day, they're the same thing.
Yeah, good stuff. So what would you say, what's the edge for you right now, either as a man within your own self or within the healing separation? What might be a question, or where are you? What's your edge?
What's my edge? I don't know. What do you mean by that?
What's current work that you're doing? So I don't know if you're working with someone or a group or a coach, but what homework have you given yourself, or are you working on right now, like this week, for instance?
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know if everyone in this call is necessarily doing the RMM program, but I'm going through that, and the sections that I'm in right now are doing the inventory of like the suffering results, and I'm about to do the habits inventory. So getting a lot of those things down on paper, and for the last several weeks, it's been a real kind of dive and effort to start to decouple myself from her feelings, from her emotions, and just like said earlier about putting his wife to bed, and she was grumpy or whatever, and thinking, oh gosh, what did I do? Like, what? Oh, I'm a horrible person. Oh my gosh, she's upset at me. Like, just being able to just say, okay, she's in a bad mood right now, and it's probably not a good space for her to even talk about it right now, but right, we'll circle back later and we'll talk about it. And I'm not going to let it spin my mind up and set me off on an unhealthy path. that's been a big effort for me, and it's very difficult, very challenging, but very necessary too.
Yeah, I was about to ask, that's usually really challenging. So how do you help your mind when you're in those spots, or what's the most difficult spot for you?
From like day one, when I first got on the phone with Charlie, he used the imagery of holding out the trash can, holding the trash can for her. And I repeat that in my mind often. Like if we
Yeah.
have if
Yeah.
we have an interaction that's tense, that's, conflict, or she says something, or she gets triggered by something, it's in the moment it's hard for me to like tell myself like hold the trash can, but like when I walk away from it, I can almost 100% of the time now I'm like, hold the trash can, you're just holding the trash can.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you help not taking it personally when she says you didn't do this, you didn't do that?
That's very hard for me, because I gravitate so easily to shame. I think I mentioned this on a call a couple weeks ago, and I've been doing a lot of renunciation, of shame, of fear of rejection, and that's helped a lot, to acknowledge like, no, I'm not going to let this influence me, and I'm going to replace it with, I have self-worth, I have value, I make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that I'm less of a person, for that. So
Yeah.
that's been helpful for me.
Yeah, good for you bringing in that messaging, that intentful messaging that you want to live by. Yeah, good stuff. Good to see you. Thanks for being
Good
here,
to
man.
see you.
Absolutely. What does the screen mean to you? What does this conversation that we're having mean to you this evening?
I think it means, for me, it means like I'm no longer making her the center focus of everything, like the center focus of my reactions, and then in turn how I feel about myself in the day to day, in day to day scenarios and goings on. Like it used to be before that, my feelings hinged on how she reacted to everything.
Mm.
And so, like you said, in the last probably couple of weeks, months, I've definitely gravitated away from not putting as much stock in her reactions to things. That kind of a double-edged sword though, because that along with it is the lack of communication. So it's really the lack of communication that creates distance between us right now. And so in part it allows me to separate myself from, whatever's going on in her head, that way. And I keep my self-worth intact. My situation may be different from some of the other guys in that I'm not necessarily looking to reconcile with her really, because like I'm of the opinion that even though, yeah, I did cheat in the past and that was years ago, like she still uses that as kind of cannon fodder. So my whole thing is, well, if she chooses to walk away now, well, so be it. She's going to start her own life. And so I'm doing the same thing. And so like I am in a current relationship right now with someone, and so is she, sort of. She's, I think, not so serious. I think she may want to be serious, but when you really talk to her about it, she says that she's not at a place where she can give fully into a relationship. And the types of people that she's choosing to be in a relationship with just aren't ready either. I hate to say it, but like it seems like guys between the ages of like 38 to 50 just don't have their shit together. And so it's kind of like slim pickings out there. Whereas,
At least the ones that she's picking, right?
yeah, at least the ones that she's picking right now. So it feels like she's not getting the satisfaction that she wants out of what she's looking for out there. Whereas I'm like totally opposite. Like it seems like things in my life are just falling into place. It's not like I haven't had my, beating my head against the table though. Because I'm starting a new job on the 24th. And so up to this point, it's been kind of working in limbo between unemployment, and looking for work or trying to get the job that I actually want. And so feeling like I'm not useful because of it. And so that's kind of messed with my self-esteem as well. But in the interim, I've tried to, like you talk about, Jeff, like rediscovering the person you are, and the person I am. So I've like restored my record collection, like, kind of built a home gym, doing stuff just for me. And so when you put that stuff on the pedestal there, it's all the things that, it's all the stuff that needs to be important for you as an individual person. And it's same thing for her, I think. She needs to have those things that make it, that are separate from me, not me, but she needs other things that are separate that make her an individual person. And I need those things for me that make me an individual person. And then eventually down the road, whether it's with me or her with somebody else, we come together and be, interaction again. But we have those things that are important and those values that make us what we are as people, as individual people, not two people in a unit. Because like that's how we lost ourselves in the whole relationship in the first place. Like 26 years of just army and parents and autism, made us two people into one, and we didn't know where one started and the other ended. So yeah, when I look at that diagram now, it's what we need to be. It's we need to have those individual things that are more important than just us to make us us again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really well said. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
how are you approaching your new relationship with another woman differently, let's say, or what's your
so my ex, I call her my ex now because she calls me the ex, and it's just like a platonic thing. We don't like hate each other. I try not to have contempt for the things she does or the things she says because I know she's trying to figure herself out. But she still sends me, like, we look at like psychology clips and things about, how our past could have factored into, the dysfunction in our relationship. And so like she shares those things with me, and like that really kind of makes me think, okay, it wasn't us in the first place, that like made this thing a broken thing or what it was or what it is. It's things from before, childhood, past, growing up. And we both realize that. So we both are in the stage of kind of recognizing those things about ourselves and how it's affected our interactions over the 26 years, like me not holding space, me not communicating. She sent a really good video to me yesterday about like how we were never really validated truly as kids and allowed to like have our feelings, and have conversations or discussions about things. It was strictly like one-way conversations. It was the kids do this, the adults say this, the kids do this. That's it. And so our things weren't validated, growing up as kids. So her from her father, me from my mother, and then like the dysfunctional relationships that happened because of those things, and then ultimately like this kind of dysfunctional relationship. So we've shared a lot of that, and we're still, I think individually, we're diving into that and having our own individual thoughts about it, even though we don't talk about it all the time. So in my new relationship now, I desperately try. Well, I just try to be myself, honestly. I just be myself. Like I'm a Gemini, and the person I'm going out with now is a Gemini. And it's kind of like we're almost the same person because we kind of mannerisms are the same. We kind of think the same, and it makes it easier. There's no trepidation. There's no hesitation about, well, do I have to say this or act a certain way or be a certain way for the other person to like me? I'm just me, and I would have been that way anyway, but just having that person that's a Gemini just makes it easier. Like was saying, I don't quite know how to be sometimes. Like you just got to be yourself. And like if the person doesn't like you, they don't like you. But like that's where I'm at now is I'm just being myself. Like I'm working out. I'm taking care of the kids. Like I said, I'm about to gear up to go back into work, the world of work. And so I'm working on me. Like it's all about me. Like has nothing to do with her. So all the little things that I used to do around the house for her, I don't do, buying groceries, extra stuff for her, I don't do. I let her do it herself. Like I let her do that for herself. If she asks me for something, which she hasn't at all, of course I'll be like, okay, sure. In the course of doing what I need to do for me, but I'm not going out of my way, so to speak, to like caretake because I know that's counterproductive at this point. Even if there was a chance that we were getting back together, it would be, I think she would see it as me trying to win favor in her eyes by doing that stuff. And so that's like a big fucking no-no. That's throwing flags on the plate like left and right. So
right? Yeah.
I do my shit for me. What I'm saying? I make sure my stuff is taken care of. I make sure the kids' stuff is taken care of. Like school's back in now. So yeah. And then I have to be better now at communicating with like school schedules and stuff with her. So that's a big thing. I'm working on that. And I'm really trying not to, like I said, have contempt for what she's doing, because that's a big thing for me still is hearing her conversations on the phone and feeling some kind of way. I know I have the same conversations, which is like oxymoronic, but it's a thing. It's a thing. So
yeah,
I gotta really try to detach, and just fucking work on me. Like, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing phenomenal work on yourself. And I agree with in the chat here that you're a champ. Keep up the good work. You're in the right direction. Yeah. And you're a model for rediscovering your own self, right? When we met, you were in a really messy, certainly tough spot, not only in your own head, but in your house. And then so it's fantastic to see your clarity here. If you prioritized right now things for her around the house, it wouldn't make sense within the dynamic, and it wouldn't make sense. And so, man, that'd be flags on the play. And how crazy is it that us prioritizing something that's not kosher for them is a red flag? That it's like, okay, what are you trying to do to manipulate me? Even if you're trying to do it in an altruistic way because you care about her, it's like, hey, this isn't appropriate right now. Why are you doing this? Why are you trying to manipulate me? And that's a hard lesson for us guys that want to serve.
It's a really hard to fathom, like, because I read in a book, like, just do the things you would do anyway, even if it, wasn't, with an ulterior motive in mind. But then you think about it, what is she thinking? She's exactly thinking that I have an ulterior motive in mind. And so it's just counterproductive. And so I'm like, yeah, you just got to cut the cord and let shit be what it'll be. Like, honestly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Appreciate you being here, man. Fantastic. That's our time for today, guys. If you want to ask more about this, reach out on the forums, right? Reach out to me directly. Appreciate you guys being here.